Welcome to Witchy Business, hosted by me, Emily.
And me, Anna. This is your weekly dose of friendly business chat with a witchy flair.
Through these personal and vulnerable conversations, we share our business journey with you,
highlighting the links to our overall growth journey in the hopes to make you feel more supported as you share your magic.
This episode is sponsored by Plan Her, a timeless and undated planner and journal created to help witches stay organised while in flow.
We especially love the pages for new moon manifestations and full moon reflections.
For additional support on how to harness the energy of the moon while working on your business,
subscribe to our Substack, your link in our show notes. Exciting news, we are hosting our first online workshop. We wanted to create a moment for you to prepare for spring and the astrological new year in communion with your business. And we figured that many of you, us included, would probably be joining circles and events already on Saturday, the 18th of March, as the first day of spring is the 21st of March. So we decided to organize our Witchy Business workshop on Saturday, the 11th of March. So you can have a special moment to be with your business and still be able to celebrate spring the following weekend. We'll host it online so all of you can attend, and also because we both live in separate countries. And it will be from 9 a.m. till 12 UK time, which is 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Europe time on Saturday, the 11th of March of this year. So come join us in ceremony online to release old ways of working and set new intentions to have your most magical year in business yet.
There will be dancing, breathwork, and visualizations to ensure all your creations come from an authentic, embodied space. During the workshop, we will hold space for you to be welcomed with a meditation, connect to your business entity, release what no longer serves your business, set new intentions for the season and year ahead. We'll ask everyone to show up on camera to make it feel like a real circle as much as possible. So come as you are. All of you is fully welcome in our spaces. Come and share, and we'll hold the space and only give advice and coaching if asked for. Bring a journal and some colourful pencils and pens or markers or whatever you need to express yourself fully. Set up your space with a candle, get comfy with some cushions, make it all cozy so you can feel fully supported and be ready to dance.
You'll find the link to book in our show notes. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to DM us on Instagram at wearewitchybusiness. So excited to see you there. Hi, everyone. So this week we have a super special guest. I feel like we say it's a special guest every episode, but they all feel super special. So
they're all special.
They are. We have Ines Kelly today, who is going to talk to us about human design, astrology, the seasons, menstrual cycles, and how she uses all of that in her business and in life in general. And this was a super nourishing chat. It just felt really lovely to listen to her speak and to be in her space. And I hope you feel that too, listening to it, and I'm really sure you will. So yeah, enjoy.
Hello, welcome. So wait, I don't even know what I'm saying. we never usually do that, so that was like a jazz hands moment. Anyway, hello. We're excited for this episode today. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, both of you lovely beings and everyone who's listening. It's such an honor to be here and share this space with you. I really love the name, especially of your podcast, Witchy Business. That really speaks to me on so many levels.
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, a little bit about myself and what it is that I do. Well, my name is Ines Kelly. And I work with astrology, human design, gene keys, the cycles of the seasons, ceremony, and I take a really integral approach to the work that I do. where I really love to intertwine and connect a lot of these systems of self-discovery that really help you to really sit with yourself, understand your own energetics, but also how the energetics of more larger energies at play, like more universal and cosmic energies, influence us, and how we can hone that in and work with that as well. And so, yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah,
How I would love to know how you started, where your journey started. How did you get into all of that?
Yeah, oh, that's a good question. My journey started completely somewhere different. What I originally studied was business administration many, many moons ago, but I always realized that I felt really depleted and frustrated in the work that I was doing. And nowadays I realized that it was actually my sacral as a generator that wasn't really being fueled with something that really feels satisfying and gratifying to me as a generator. And so I felt really just tired and depleted and frustrated all the time. And so that kind of compelled me to go onto my own self-discovery journey to really understand like who it is that I am and why am I here and what do I want to contribute to the whole. And I was always driven to more spiritual subjects, I would say, even though I never really thought that I could actually make a career out of it, because I was seeking more tangible kind of careers that make more sense in our society, you know, I guess you could say. I wanted to make a few I wanted to make like a path into the world of fashion, but what kind of kept on coming back to me were books on self-help, on healing, on spirituality, on yoga. And so I was constantly just learning all of these various practices and spiritual teachings. And then I became a mom for the first time in 2015 around my Saturn return, which was really such a defining moment, because that was really when I paused for the first time in my life, and I stopped working, and I was just a full-time mom back then, and I just decided to give myself space to really figure out what is my passion, like what it is that I want to do. Of course, you know, being a mom, but what else is there? And so I gave myself that time, and then I found this program in holistic health coaching, and I did that, and then essential oils came into life and into my life, and then meditation and all of these, you know, different things were coming into my life, until finally it started to really crystallize with each step that I was taking, that what it is that I really wanted to speak about was the cycles, the menstrual cycle, the moon cycle, the astrological cycle, the seasonal cycles. And that was probably back in 2019, 2018, when I really started to speak more and more about the moon. That became then more of my focus, and where the moon is, like right behind it is like astrology as well. And so it was definitely a journey, and it took many just trial and errors and just many steps to really actually come into touch to what it is that I actually wanted to speak about, what it is that I wanted to share as well with others.
Oh, what a beautiful journey.
Yeah, I want to add in there, because Ines, I'm quite familiar with your work because we've known each other for a few years now. And if anyone is interested in anything that you've just said, you have the biggest library of articles and podcasts about the different cycles. It is, I mean, your website is just so full of amazing resources. So anyone, like I was on there the other day reading some of your articles and went down a bit of a rabbit hole, and you can tell that throughout the years this has been like the common interest, and you've just written more and more about that. So anyone who's interested, just head on there, because there is so much. I love it. Like every moon cycle, and every season there's something on there that you've written that's really super interesting.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. And I think that really reflects my profile number in human design so well, because I'm a 1-4, and the 1 is constantly investigating, researching, wanting to go deeper in subjects. And then the 4 is about sharing this with their network, with their community. And so everything that I'm kind of like digging my teeth into and learning more about, I'm just automatically then sharing with others. And so, yeah, that's you can really tell from my blog and podcast and all of that. Like you said,
Yeah, definitely.
A big part of my journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a good segue into our next question of like, how do you use human design in general in your business, in running your business? How do you find that's helpful? Human design and astrology and all the other cycles that you...
Yeah. Oh, I love this question.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really helpful to understand that I am a generator, that's my energy type, and that my sacral is my inner authority, because in human design, the way that we make decisions is actually never really from our head. And most people go throughout life making decisions, like more like logical, rational decisions from their head. And actually in human design, only 1% of humans are actually capable of doing that as their inner authority. And for me as a generator, like my inner authority is my sacral. It's really my gut, my belly, that just becomes excited and ignited by an idea, or by a project, or by, like whatever it is that I'm making a decision on. I have to feel that excitement in my belly. And that's really a full-on yes. And if I don't feel it, then that means that it's either a no or maybe not now, because the sacral sometimes takes some time for it to really respond to something, but it needs to be able to respond to something. It needs to have like different options in front of it, and then a response will come from it. So I can't really ask like an open question, like, what's my purpose? Like, it's not going to be able to answer that, but it's going to help me, guide me towards the things that maybe in my head doesn't make much sense towards why this would be the next step in my business or in the work that I do. But my belly just feels really, really excited by it. And so it helps me make decisions in a more aligned way. And the more that I feel that excitement that I feel in my gut, the more magnetic I will also become for the people around me. Because as a generator, our aura is highly magnetic. It's like we don't actually really need to go out there and push for things to happen. It's like when you're in that excitement and that flowy, creative, juicy energy, people are just drawn to you, because they just feel that excitement that is oozing out of you. And so it's really helped me to understand that actually in my business, I don't need to really push for things to happen. I have to really make my excitement, make my pleasure, my satisfaction a priority, and the rest will flow from that. Because I've really noticed in the past and in a lot of my past jobs that I did in offices or in business administration, that I felt constantly tired. I didn't feel like a generator at all. And it was because I wasn't really listening to my sacral energy back then. I was giving my energy away for things that did not feel deeply satisfying for me. And so that was really a really big way that human design has helped me to build a business and to do business nowadays for myself. And astrology I use with the transits. I work with the transits really closely, and that really helps me understand, like, okay, like what's happening currently in the sky, like how is that influencing me, and like when is a good time maybe to launch something, or maybe it's not such a good time to put myself out there so much. Maybe it's more of an introspective period. Maybe it's now a time to really do more inner healing work. And so it's like those transits can really reflect back to us, like how we can really use those universal energies at large to conduct business or interact with others or make plans as well in our lives.
when you're working with those transits, do you plan in advance? Like, how far in advance do you sort of plan like launches? And because I'm thinking, like, if you have things booked in, like you'd want to plan those in advance, right? Rather than just kind of be like, oh no, this is not a good time, I need to hold with what I'm doing.
You could absolutely plan these things in advance. But I'm not that big of a planner, I must say, like as I would like to be. But for me, it helps me just understand more on a deeper level, like what it is that I'm also currently going through. And then it just kind of gives me like answers as well on the outside as to why that is. And it helps me navigate a bit more just things in a more compassionate way for myself. Because, for example, I have been going through a Pluto transit. So Pluto has been on my ascendant in Capricorn since about like at least 2 years. Pluto moves like excruciating, like slow, like extremely slow. And so what Pluto does, it helps us step into our power in a deeper way. And it's a very profound journey when you work with this Pluto energy, because it takes so long for it to really move ahead. And so it's like that transformation, it just goes that deep, that deep in a way that it really kind of unearths so many things from within for you to really look at. And then therefore the transformation is just a lot more, it's like it's built on a more like stable foundation, let's say. But it just takes really, really long. And so I have been experiencing that energy since about 2 years. And I know it's going to take another 2 years for it to actually fully move away. And it's something that not everyone actually gets the opportunity to have this type of transit, because Pluto moves so slow. And so it's really been helping me understand that it's just a very transformative period in my life. Things are going to feel up in the air. I'm going to feel sometimes very disempowered in a way, because I know that I'm actually shedding a lot of layers for me to actually step into my power in a deeper way. And so I know it hasn't been the period to maybe put myself out there like in a really big way, but to really kind of unearth a lot of those foundations that I have built over the years that maybe have been a bit rocky in some way, and create better foundations for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. And I feel like there's a massive trust piece here as well, because and I guess this really ties into seasons and cycles as well, right? Because it's like going against what we all know as society and, you know, the world that we live in, and really just trusting yourself.
Yes, so true. Yeah, because during this like Pluto transit that I was experiencing, just as an example, for me, it was sometimes extremely hard to actually let go of that control and be like, I'm not going to be, you know, maybe my most productive, you know, self this entire time. It's maybe more of a time to be in my cocoon, allow that transformation to unfold naturally, and really kind of go against all of that conditioning of society that tells us that we have to, you know, be on in the middle of winter, when we actually just want to be in our winter cave and hibernate and sleep and rest all the time, and just have maybe just curl up with a good book. And it just feels very unnatural to actually be completely like on, like during the middle of winter, right? And be productive and working and, you know, creating new goals, like, and starting a new year. It just feels very unnatural in a way. And in astrology, we actually see that the new year, it begins with the spring equinox and the beginning of Aries season on the 21st of March, when spring really begins to flourish and make its entrance back into our world.
Yeah. I was just thinking what you were saying about how it brings you when you get, what am I trying to say, like when you're looking at the transits and where we are, and it brings you it's that self-discovery piece. And I always, when I read your stuff, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. And on this podcast, we always talk about the moon cycles and how we're feeling, and I think we've really been feeling like winter, haven't we, Anna? And just like that hibernation recently. So I love hearing you say all of that and talk about all of this.
Yeah, because technically, in a way, we're now at the end of the year. Like we're the 27th of February, so we've got 3 weeks before the astrological new year, in a way. Yeah. What are you, I'm sure you've got lots of things that you're planning for the Astro New Year. How are you bringing, and actually, before going into that, like personally, do you have any practices about kind of closing in the end of the year and then starting the new year, like personally and with your business? Is there any things that you do that help you with that? I don't know if help is the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's a really great question. It's a practice that I actually do every like ending and beginning of a season, because wherever there's a season that comes to closing, there's also another season that begins to come forth. And I always like to make it my intention on especially in those transitional periods where we experience an equinox or a solstice. Those are like portals of energies or pockets of energies where we can really hone in that energy of that upcoming season ahead. And I find it a really powerful day to create ritual and to set an intention for the season ahead. And so I always like to reflect on the season behind me, like what went well, what didn't go so well, like what am I celebrating, what was I able maybe to harvest from this past season, like what seeds were able to maybe grow, even if just a little bit, and what am I letting go, like really just reflecting on the season behind me, and then reflecting on what it is that I want to bring in the season ahead of me. And then there's various rituals that you can do according to the seasons to make the intention that you have for the season ahead like more kind of like symbolically like, you know, come alive in a way.
I love that. Yeah. And do you do that with business as well? Like, and how do you do that with, so you'd reflect on your personal life and then in work too. Yeah,
absolutely. Like it's personal, spiritual, like business, emotional world, like just like various, it really depends like what has been the most present for me during that season, or what I desire to see become more present for me in the upcoming season. But business is usually it's closely, you know, intertwined with everything that I do, because it's like, it's sometimes even hard to separate the two, my personal being with my business being, because I am running my own business. And so I feel very close to home in a way, right? Yeah. It's been a practice for me, especially with this Pluto transit, you know, and these transformative energies, to really understand that what it is that I receive from my business, like, you know, the value, the validation, the money, that it has actually nothing to do with my inner worth. Right. And so that has been a deep, you know, lesson for me this past year or two. And so, but I must admit that I love doing business. I love running my own business, even with its ups and downs.
It's a spiritual journey. Like, really it is, because your business becomes such a mirror to anything that you haven't, like, I don't want to say like properly worked on, because there's no, you know, there's no way to have properly worked on anything, but it just brings up anything to the surface that is still there for you to spend time on and to be with and to really like, yeah, it's such a mirror.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, especially when it's like when you were talking about your journey, and how you've been following what lights you up, you've been following your passions as a generator as well. And so we've been kind of doing the same, right? And I'm just following like what lights us up, even though we're not generators. I'm a projector. She's a manifesting generator. But anyway, then you kind of, you're following your passions and you're creating a business out of it. So there, it is tricky sometimes to separate the two, because you love it so much and it's what you're really interested in, but it's also something that is a business and it's separate from who you are. And so, yeah, really making that distinction of like, it's what I love, but it's not all of who I am.
Yeah. I'm
What
just like
about
soaking it all in.
I know, I have so many questions. I'm like so many questions. I don't even know how we're going to fit it all into one podcast episode. Because I really want to know if someone is just starting out or in the early stages of their business, and they're interested in using human design, astrology, seasons, cycles, in their business and for themselves and their personal development, their self-discovery, where would you recommend to start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say human design is more hands-on. It's like more practical advice. Of course, it's also a journey. Like it's also an experimentation as well to you to take on this like knowledge that you receive from human design, because usually we're not, raised in that way to be a generator, be a projector or a manifester, whatever your energy type is. We're all kind of treated the same. Like we're all as if we're all like little, generators with all like this high motor. And that's just simply not true. We're all so different. And so I would say human design is really, it's a lot more hands-on. It's something that you can really, it's something that you can grasp. It's more tangible. Whereas astrology can be a little bit more on the esoteric, kind of spiritual, cosmic, past lives, karmic, in a way that it's not always so tangible for many people who maybe especially are more kind of on more practical, more down to earth in that sense. And I feel like human design is something that you can really just be like, okay, I'm going to try this out and I'm going to experiment this with like this information with, in my life and in my business. And then you will see the results afterwards, pretty obviously then afterwards. Whereas with astrology, it's like really a journey. Like I still look at my chart, every now and then and still see new things. It's like it's constant, evolution somehow, where you're still constantly learning something new or seeing this from a different perspective, or the information is just sinking in deeper. And so I would recommend, starting off with human design and following the seasons as well. I find like that's something that it influences us all in one way or another. And so beginning to tune into the seasonal energies, and as well as your own energy as well, your inner seasons of life. And just noticing like, am I noticing like these energies of the season? Like, how is that influencing me and my behavior? Like, what do I normally do during the season? And does it feel aligned? Does it feel intuitive, like to what is being reflected back to me from the outside? And just sitting with that season for season. And that once again it's a journey, and it's going to change. Like I feel like this winter, for example, even after working for so many years with the season, with my own menstrual cycle, like sitting in ceremony with myself and others, and really understanding like my own inner energies and how they work and how they're being influenced as well by the outside astrology or seasons. This winter, I felt like it was really such a more deeper surrender that I experienced than in past winters, where I still felt the need, like I need to, like be on and sell and do this or whatever. And this time I felt like I was able to surrender in such a different way. And again, I still felt that inner conflict and struggle at times, like, oh, I shouldn't be just resting all the time. But yeah, I think it evolves. Like the way that we relate to the energies around us, it evolves with us as well. The deeper we can go, the deeper we will also understand the energy does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Em and I literally spoke, like, was it a couple of weeks ago, about how this winter we really wintered. Yeah. Like went in. So
Yeah. I love hearing you talk about it, because also as a generator, I think when I hear people talk about either being a generator or generators in general, especially being a projector, I don't have as much energy as a generator might. But I feel like sometimes when people talk about generators, it's like they should be always on, they should be doing all the things because they have all this energy. So it's really nice to hear you actually saying, no, like we can work in a different way. We don't have to do all the things, especially if that's not how you want to be working and not what lights you up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also different types of generators and different types of projectors as well. So there's like a projector that could actually have almost more energy than a sacral being a generator, because they're an energy projector. They're more defined in a way. Whereas like there could be also a generator who only has like maybe 2 defined centers, and they feel maybe more like a projector in so many ways. And so again, it's like it has a lot to do with our own uniqueness as well. And like, coming into contact with our body graph and our charts, can really help us understand ourselves and in a different way.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking when you're talking about the seasons, because I mean, I often talk about how I grew up somewhere where seasons is like wet and dry season, and winter lasts like a month. Like in Australia, people think there isn't a winter, but there is, and you feel it because houses aren't built for winter, they're built for summer. So when it's 5 degrees in Australia, it feels like 5 degrees because everywhere is cold, like inside your house and everything. But it only lasts like maybe a month or 6 weeks. But then in New Caledonia, where I grew up, there is no winter. Winter is like maximum. The lowest is like 20 degrees Celsius. So it never gets cold. We don't winter. It rains, but that's about it. And sometimes even it doesn't for a few years. So. And I remember one year being when I was living back home, saying to a friend, it's so funny because we've just had like almost 2 years of summer. And I felt like I was like, even if the weather's really nice and everyone's outdoors, I just really need like some time inside. Like I hadn't been home in maybe like, over 3 months. The weekends we were always out. Always camping, always out on the sea, like just always out. And it's funny how there are places where there are no seasons, and you've got that like that continuous summer. I don't know what it feels like in the continuous winter, and I have absolutely no desire to experience that ever. But I'm sure for some people it works, just not for me. But yeah, it's when you've got that continuous summer, it feels very different. And because you feel like you should always be on. You don't feel like you can stay home and rest like the.
I can imagine that it's like, it feels like the sun is calling you out,
Yeah.
like constantly. It's very outward energy, but we all need moments of integration where we can just be, right? And every single cycle, whether it is, a seasonal cycle, a menstrual cycle, the moon cycle, like there's always a phase where we integrate, where we are rest, because without that, everything else that we kind of absorbed and obtained, it's going to be a fleeting experience. It's going to be very like superficial. It's not going to be able to really sink in a way, right? And so that's why I always find that actually our rest is really a very productive phase in a way, because on the outside it might seem like not much is going on, but on the inside so much is actually happening, right? And then after that season, once the tides kind of shift again and we become outwards, and that creative energy kind of comes back out, then we realize, okay, I understand now what it was like an inner alchemy, right? That was happening beneath the surface that we couldn't really see, we couldn't fathom, we couldn't put into words. We just felt it. And then afterwards, when that shift happens, we understand, okay, I understand now why I needed that phase of just, being and resting. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a lesson I've really come to learn as well. Again, I think it comes back to the trust piece, like trusting that, it's like that journey of self-discovery and trust. Thinking about the start of the new year then, as we're coming up to it, what are your rituals around the new year, or what can you recommend that we can all do to see in the new year for ourselves and also for our business?
So now with the astrological new year that is happening on the 21st of March, we're going to experience like so much fresh energy. It's going to really finally feel like the engine is like it's beginning to run again. Energy is going to flow a lot more, because we actually started this year, and in January, we started it with a Mercury retrograde, a Mars retrograde. So actually it didn't really energetically, it didn't feel like the ball was actually like rolling, that we could actually begin new things like at all, because Mars, it represents our inner drive, our inner motivation. And so that was going backwards. So we didn't maybe feel that drive to begin. And also communication was kind of going backwards with Mercury retrograde. So it wasn't really the best time to make any real intentions. However, now in March, there's going to be quite some major transits that are going to happen, that are also going to support this new beginning of a new year, of a new season. And so it's going to be really an amazing time for anyone to set intentions around their business or life. And I, like I mentioned before, I like to make it really like symbolically when I set my intentions, especially around spring. Like I love to infuse maybe like a few seeds of a plant, or maybe like a flower that just take those seeds and have them maybe at my altar. I always work with an altar where it kind of changes over time depending on my intentions, depending on the seasons. I put different symbols there, what it is that I'm currently wanting to manifest in my life. So I place those seeds at my altar while I do my journaling practice, my meditation practice, to really tune into what are my intentions, what do I desire to maybe let go? What am I reflecting on from the past season? And then afterwards, have those seeds like really be infused with those intentions of mine at my altar. Maybe have them there overnight or for a few nights before I plant them then in a pot, like on my balcony or in our garden outside. Or in ceremony with my fellow moon sisters. This is a practice that we also do together, and we plant those seeds into the soil, and whilst we are thinking of our intentions that we have for the upcoming spring. And so it's something very tangible, it's something very easy, I would say, practical, that you can do, and then just watch it like bloom and come into life with the love and care, of course, that you give. And for me, it's like a real reflection that towards like the way that we do things. If we do it with like loving care, then it will eventually blossom in its own time.
I just got goosebumps as you were talking about planting the seeds. I love
it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just on a little cloud right now.
So as we wrap up then, what are you offering and what are you doing to bring in the new year? Can you share how people can work with you and find you?
Yeah, so I host seasonal journeys. There are ceremonies where we gather every equinox and solstice, and also on the Witch's New Year, Saiwen. And that's it's a time where we gather together as a community. Nowadays, I only do my seasonal journeys in person here in Switzerland, in the Zurich area where I live. And yeah, we come together, we set our intentions, we share, we dance, we create ritual, all those good witchy things. But I also have an online membership where we gather every new moon online, and every full moon we gather in person, where we set our intentions for the month ahead on the new moon, speak those out loud, tune into the astrological energies that the moon is currently in. And then 2 weeks later, we come back together on the full moon and we celebrate what came through, or we let go, whatever might have come up for us. We integrate those lessons together as a tribe, as a community. I find that for me, healing happen a lot in community, in a group setting, in ceremony. And it's just a deeply healing experience, because that's something that I feel that we lack. That we lack safe spaces where we can just come together and just speak from our heart, wherever we might be in life, with the struggle and messiness of life, and we can just show up as we are and just talk about things and have people there that actually listen to you and don't kind of jump in to give you advice or anything like that. It's just about being there for one another, and then sharing all of these more mystical and witchy spiritual practices that I have come to see, and also within myself. That was something that used to be also part of my journey, where many people, they just don't feel safe to actually share these things with just anybody. But when you come together with people who are into these things like you are, it makes you feel less alone. And it's like, oh, this is really awesome. I have, fellow like witches and sisters who are into these things, and I can practice these things together. We can learn together. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that and completely agree. Yeah, more spaces like that, definitely.
Absolutely. Can you please share with us where everybody can find you?
Yeah, sure. So on Instagram, you can find me under Ines Kelly. And my website is ineskelly.com. And yeah, that's really where you can best find me. I also have a podcast, La Luna Eres Tú, that means the moon is you, where I speak about all of these like witchy, seasonal, astrological things and themes, and yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure to link everything in the show notes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was such a nourishing chat. I absolutely loved it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to your weekly dose of witchy business.
If you love us as much as we love us, please leave a 5-star review to help us spread the magic.
Thank you again to our sponsor, Plan Her. Please support them the way they support us.
And don't forget to follow the link in the show notes to sign up to our Substack. You can also watch us on YouTube. It's at Witchy Business.
And you can also follow us on Instagram at We Are Witchy Business. Emily is at _Emily Tyson, and I am at Anna.Jordan with an E.